About 1 minute to go, and we'll get started on our first severe weather risk of the spring. That's what I'm going to call this, the first big severe weather risk of the spring. Been a while since we've had to deal with severe weather. And now it feels like tomorrow we're going to have to deal with it one way or another, some form or fashion. All right, looks like we've got a good crowd built. I'm live on Facebook at my page, the KETV Facebook page, my Twitter, my YouTube. Go ahead and hit like or subscribe. That really helps me and helps my reach as I try to bring you up-to-date weather information. So tomorrow, it looks like we're going to have some severe weather. I think we're going to have a couple of waves, maybe some discrete isolated development early out in west and north Arkansas, followed by more widespread development into the middle and late afternoon. And then thunderstorms are going to be everywhere after 7 and 8 o'clock, and it's going to lower the severe risk, I think, and give us just a ton of thunderstorms, maybe with a wind threat, but also a flooding threat. I think we're not going to escape this without somebody getting some flash flooding. If you missed it earlier today, the Storm Prediction Center upgraded a large part of Arkansas to an enhanced risk for severe weather, and they put these risks in place when numerous severe storms are anticipated. So what we're looking at tomorrow is this risk of severe weather being highest over western and northern Arkansas, and I don't think that's changed looking at the newest data tonight, although I do think there's a chance it could be slightly expanded to include the metro area. Go ahead and comment where you are watching from. I'd love to see it. I see all the Facebook comments coming through here in the chat. So let's look at this threat by threat. The tornado threat is what I would consider to be a low tornado threat. However, if I had to pick a place where it's higher and could get upgraded to a medium tornado threat, I would pick north central, maybe northwest Arkansas, maybe western Arkansas as well. No tornado threat, a low tornado threat is not no tornado threat. I think that there could be a few tornadoes across the state tomorrow. Especially in the afternoon into the very, very early evening hours before there's so many storms out there that it's going to be hard for tornadoes to occur. The hail threat is high, especially across northwest Arkansas. Not only do I think quarter-size hail is possible, I think we could see some hail that's maybe larger than golf ball, maybe even baseball size under the right set of circumstances. And then as storms form into lines, the wind risk really goes up, and that wind threat does extend all the way to eastern and southeast Arkansas. So it's a day where everybody needs to be weather aware. All right, let's get to Futurecast. Let's get to the timing, and let's look at kind of how we expect the day to go tomorrow. I think we're going to be dealing with storms, at least in the region, afternoon. Now watch what happens here as we get close to lunch. Look at all the breaks in the clouds. I think temperatures are going to get close to 80 degrees. I think we're going to see some sunshine, and I think the instability tomorrow is not going to be the issue with this severe weather setup. We're going to have the instability in place. What we don't have is really strong upper level winds. That's the one thing that's missing, and we'll see how much of an impact it makes. Regardless, there's going to be thunderstorms. There's going to be a chance that they're severe. Look what happens by the time we get to 12 and 1 o'clock. A lot of our data differs on where these storms go and what time they form, but generally, between 12 and 2, storms form in northeast Oklahoma and in northwest Arkansas, and they generally move off towards the northeast, towards north central Arkansas. I think large hail is a threat with these initial storms. I also think there's an isolated tornado threat with that as well. Now, this particular model pretty much forms everything into one giant line. I don't know that that's entirely realistic. I think some of this may stay more isolated, which keeps this as a large hail isolated tornado threat through the middle afternoon up in North Arkansas and Northwest Arkansas, and that could include places like Marshall and over towards Clarksville, Fort Smith, and that's through about 3 and 4 o'clock. Now, after that, more storms will develop back towards the west. And as you get towards 4, 5, and 6 o'clock, I think we've got storms north and west of Little Rock. And as long as they are isolated, large hail is a threat. and an isolated tornado could be a threat. As storms form into line segments, the wind damage becomes a threat. Again, a lot of the data that you look at, if you went and looked at all the data, it differs on timing, but I really think between 5 and 8 p.m., we're going to have storms knocking on the door of the Little Rock metro area. Now, of course, we'll update you on this timing again in the morning. It could change slightly, but I think between 5 and 8 p.m. in the metro area, and a lot of this activity you see here in north and west Arkansas will have been severe. Remember, before the rain and storms, the temperature will have reached 80 degrees in some of these places. So you get towards 6 and 7 o'clock, those storms are moving into the metro area. I think after 7 and 8 o'clock, we are going to see a lot of these storms just kind of cluster together into one giant mess. And that is going to lower the severe weather risk a little at first, and then greatly once you get past 9 o'clock. It'll be harder for storms to throw out hail, and tornadoes still would be some wind threat. And then look at 9 o'clock. You just got a large area of storms all the way across the state. And I think this is when we transition to mainly a flash flood threat. Now, you might not have heard a whole lot about the flash flood threat, but watch what happens. We've had several hours of rain on this model going through 9 o'clock, and then it continues for several more hours before it moves out and into the southern part of the state. It may continue into early Friday. That's a recipe for some flash flooding, especially in this corridor for central and maybe into part of South Arkansas as well, depending on how long the storms hang on. So we kind of showed you threat by threat across the state. I would classify tomorrow for part of the state as a high hail threat, medium threat for damaging winds. It's called a low threat for isolated tornadoes, but don't read that as there's no threat. I think there could be a tornado or two under the right set of circumstances, and any tornado, no matter how strong, is dangerous. So we will be on looking out for that and tracking it, doing our best to track it. Rainfall amounts, not to be overshadowed by the other severe weather risks. So let me go back to that. I think, and again, don't focus on the numbers themselves. 2 inches Mena, 2.5, 3 inch Little Rock. Focus generally what I'm telling you here. There's going to be a swath of 1 to 2 inches of rain. I think embedded within that, you see these darker colors here. I think there could be some spots that get upwards of 4 inches of rain in a short period of time, and that could result in a flash flooding. And so that is what we're watching for tomorrow. There's the threat of severe weather. This is mainly after 1 o'clock, starting in north and west Arkansas, and going through about 8 or 9 o'clock here in the metro area. And remember, the severe threat could extend down into south and east Arkansas, at least sporadically. So don't tune out if you're in other parts of the state. Make sure you're paying attention as well. If you're watching, you may be doing so from a phone, from an app, and there's a lot of different ways to get severe weather warnings. But bottom line is, you need a way to get severe weather warnings. We have severe weather a lot in the spring and sometimes even into the summer and other times of the year. The best way for you to stay up to date is to have a way to get warnings. Get those warnings with the KETV weather app, and hopefully you won't be caught off guard. I don't want anyone to be caught off guard tomorrow because we do have that threat for an isolated tornado, large hail, especially up in north and west Arkansas, and then the threat for wind damage is across a large part of the state. Hey, if you've lived in this state long enough, you know how these setups work. There's a lot of factors at play here. I do feel like there's going to be severe storms. How it all comes together, of course. I mean, I could sit here all night and explain to you all the different scenarios, but I'm going to update you in the morning. Barry Brandt, Chief Meteorologist Barry Brandt, is out of town starting tomorrow. A pre-planned trip, great timing. But I will be in studio all afternoon tomorrow into the evening hours, keeping you updated. We'll be live at times on air, and if there's tornado warnings, we'll stay on air. But we'll be live on Facebook quite a bit as well. And this, right now, I'm live on multiple platforms. I'm live on Twitter. I'm live at the KETV Facebook page. I'm live at my Facebook page. And I'm trying, I think, to be live on Instagram. I don't know if that actually is working, though. So there is kind of the summation of what we're expecting into tomorrow afternoon and evening. I will update you again tomorrow. And I think for now, this will do. If you join the video late, as soon as it stops, the video will post, and you'll be able to rewatch the whole thing for all the information that I just gave. Hey, y'all have a great night, and let's have a great Thursday, hopefully.